The story begins in a notorious prison in Spain, a place infamous for its brutal treatment of inmates, where prisoners were treated as less than human. The air was thick with despair, and the walls echoed with the cries of the oppressed. But one day the simmering tension erupted into chaos when a group of prisoners, led by the charismatic and defiant Malama Mender, decided they could no longer endure the atrocities. They launched a rebellion that would shake the very foundations of the prison. Amid this brewing storm, a new guard named Oliver arrived at the prison. His official duty was set to begin the next day, but eager to impress his superiors, he showed up a day early. Little did he know that his first day would thrust him into a nightmare, a deadly dance with fate that would change his life forever. As the rebellion ignited, Malama Mender spotted the keys in Oliver's hands, a symbol of authority and control. At that very moment, a massive section of the ceiling collapsed, crashing directly onto Oliver's head. The impact left him dazed, vulnerable, and at the mercy of the chaos unfolding around him. Malama Mender, a man hardened by years of incarceration, had already begun his escape. Using a thin steel wire hidden in his mouth, he silently picked the lock on his handcuffs. With calculated precision, he taunted a guard, luring him closer. As the guard approached, Malama used his handcuffs to strangle him, silencing him without a sound. Oliver, still reeling from the blow to his head, was dragged by another guard into cell 211, a small, suffocating space where he slipped into unconsciousness. The rebellion escalated rapidly. The prisoners broke through locks, seized control of the corridors, and set fires that engulfed the prison in flames. The once orderly institution descended into anarchy, with screams, violence, and destruction reverberating through its walls. The prison director, watching the chaos unfold through the CCTV monitors, was paralyzed with indecision. He could only observe, trying to decipher what Malama Mender truly wanted. Soon after, one of Malama's men found Oliver in cell 211. Seeing an unfamiliar figure lying unconscious, the prisoner slapped Oliver hard across the face, jolting him back to consciousness. Confused and disoriented, Oliver faced a barrage of questions, but his silence only frustrated the prisoner, who locked the cell door and left. It didn't take long for Oliver to realize he was trapped in the heart of a full-blown riot. Thinking quickly, he flushed his shoelaces and wallet down the toilet and hid his belt under the mattress, knowing that new prisoners were often stripped of their possessions. He was about to remove his wedding ring when the cell door swung open again. This time, Malama's man returned to escort Oliver to the leader himself. With a cool confidence, Oliver pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and casually explained that he had just arrived at the prison that day, pointing to the wound on his head as proof of an attack by a guard. His calm demeanor and innocent appearance disarmed Malama's suspicions. When questioned further, Oliver retorted with a sharp wit, "What? Are you some kind of astrologer who can read my face and know everything?" The boldness of his response left Malama momentarily speechless, and for a moment, it seemed Oliver had earned his trust. To confirm Oliver's story, Malama ordered him to remove his pants. In the prison, inmates were forbidden from wearing underwear, and by sheer coincidence, Oliver wasn't wearing any either. This detail convinced Malama that Oliver was indeed a prisoner, not a guard. As the rebellion continued, the prisoners began smashing the CCTV cameras to sever the prison's connection to the outside world. Oliver, realizing the danger of losing all surveillance, shouted for them to stop. He suggested leaving one camera intact to broadcast their demands to the authorities, but covering it with cloth to obscure their actions. The prisoners agreed, and Oliver personally climbed up to cover the camera, subtly ensuring his face was captured on the footage. The control room immediately recognized him as one of their own, creating a secret lifeline between Oliver and the authorities. Despite his growing acceptance among the prisoners, Malama remained wary. He took Oliver to confront the guard who had been attacked earlier, asking if Oliver was the one who had struck him. Both Oliver and the guard, sensing the danger, denied recognizing each other. But Malama's men weren't convinced and began beating the guard mercilessly. Meanwhile, the prison director called in a special forces team, who took positions outside the prison. Their orders were clear: rescue the two captive guards and retake the prison by any means necessary, with no intention of negotiating with the prisoners. But a shocking revelation complicated matters. 3 high-profile political prisoners were still inside, their transfers delayed. News of the riot had reached the media, and the entire nation was now watching. If anything happened to these political figures, it could spark nationwide unrest. Malama, aware of their value, had already taken them hostage, announcing his control over them via the CCTV system. The balance of power shifted dramatically in the prisoners' favor. The control room, overwhelmed by the escalating crisis, brought in a negotiator to communicate with the prisoners. Malama's past revealed a history of violence. He had led a similar uprising 10 years earlier, during which a guard was killed, cementing his reputation as the prison's undisputed leader. Now he tasked Oliver with helping draft their demands: better living conditions, the right to see family every 15 days, and proper medical treatment for inmates, as many had suffered or died due to neglect, including one prisoner who was dismissed as a liar despite a fatal brain tumor. Oliver found himself sympathizing with Malama's cause. During their conversations, he fabricated a story about his pregnant wife and a child on the way, claiming he was imprisoned for killing a drug dealer who murdered his younger brother. The tale struck a chord with Malama, who began to see Oliver as more than just a fellow prisoner. When the negotiator arrived, Malama instructed Oliver to search him. Seizing the opportunity, Oliver cleverly relayed the locations of the political hostages to the negotiator while pretending to frisk him. The negotiator promised to pass on their demands and, at Malama's request, agreed to arrange food for the prisoners and a call for Oliver to speak with his wife. As the negotiator left, a scream echoed through the prison. 2 prisoners had clashed, leaving one unconscious with a head injury. Fearing the worst, the Special Forces commander prepared to storm the prison, believing a key figure had been killed. Oliver, acting quickly, brought the political hostages in front of the surveillance camera to prove they were alive, forcing the commander to call off the attack. His quick thinking saved countless lives, but it also drew suspicion from some prisoners who wondered how a newcomer could be so resourceful. Outside, the situation grew more volatile. Oliver's wife, Elena, was at a restaurant when she saw news of the riot on TV. Panicked, she tried calling Oliver, but his phone was unreachable. After contacting one of his colleagues, she was told he was at another branch, but sensing something was wrong, she drove to the prison. By the time she arrived, a crowd of prisoners' families had gathered, demanding answers about their loved ones. Elena joined them, desperate for news of her husband. Inside, Oliver stole a walkie-talkie from Malama's chair and contacted his colleague, urging him to reassure Elena that he was safe. Meanwhile, Malama noticed the missing walkie-talkie and grew suspicious. Oliver quickly returned it, claiming he had taken it to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. His explanation was plausible and Malama let it slide. But another prisoner, Apache, had seen everything. Unknown to the others, Apache was an informant working for the prison authorities. Using a hidden phone, he contacted his handler and revealed Oliver's true identity as a guard. Outside, the crowd's anger boiled over, and some began throwing stones at the guard post. A guard named Utrilla, already on edge, lost control and led a team to attack the protesters with batons. In the chaos, Elena, pregnant and vulnerable, was struck and fell to the ground, the incident captured by media cameras. The prison authorities, desperate to contain the situation, cut the TV signal inside the prison, further enraging the prisoners. Malama demanded a list of the injured protesters, but when Oliver asked about Elena, the authorities lied, claiming all was well. Apache confronted Oliver, threatening to expose him unless he complied. But Oliver, aware of Apache's betrayal, turned the tables, warning that the prisoners would never forgive a traitor like him. Stunned, Apache backed down. Meanwhile, Utrilla was suspended for his actions, though the authorities covered it up to protect him. As tensions rose, Malama decided to escalate their actions. He planned to kill one of the political hostages to pressure the authorities. Oliver, desperate to avoid bloodshed, suggested cutting off a piece of one hostage's ear as a warning instead. Malama agreed and tasked Oliver with the grim job. Oliver performed the task swiftly to minimize pain, and the severed ear was sent to the prison management as proof of their resolve. Forced to comply, the authorities sent the real list of injured protesters, and Oliver's heart shattered when he saw Elena's name among them. Apache, meanwhile, had obtained video footage clearly showing Utrilla attacking Elena. Oliver's rage consumed him as he realized his colleague had lied about ensuring Elena's safety. He demanded that Utrilla be sent into the prison. With the political hostages' lives at stake, the authorities had no choice but to comply. When Utrilla arrived, Malama took him hostage and Oliver confronted him about Elena. Utrilla's refusal to answer pushed Oliver over the edge. In a fit of grief and fury, he learned the devastating truth. Elena and their unborn child were dead. Devastated, Oliver broke down, sobbing on Malama's shoulder. Malama ordered his men to attack Utrilla, but the guard, in a final act of defiance, revealed Oliver's true identity as a guard. The prisoners were stunned, but Oliver, consumed by grief, no longer cared. Driven by vengeance, he killed Utrilla in front of everyone. With nothing left to live for, he retreated to cell 211, retrieved his hidden belt, and contemplated ending his life. But even that escape eluded him. When he awoke, he saw a message scratched into the wall by a previous inmate: "An old man died of a headache." The words resonated deeply. Oliver's pain had become one with the prison's legacy of suffering. He shed his identity as a guard and embraced his new reality as a prisoner. Though some prisoners grew suspicious, Malama, sensing Oliver's loyalty and shared pain, stood by him. The situation spiraled further as the government sent a high-level negotiator, who claimed most of the prisoners' demands had been met. But Oliver, fueled by rage, dragged Utrila's body before the camera and declared he had killed him, demanding that the Prime Minister personally announce their demands' acceptance on live TV. Malama, knowing the government wouldn't yield easily, prepared for a final stand, ordering the hostages to be moved to separate locations. The authorities, in a desperate move, revealed Oliver's identity to Malama, offering to reduce his sentence if he killed Oliver. Malama, shaken but loyal, confronted Oliver with a knife. Yet, seeing the pain in Oliver's eyes, he couldn't bring himself to act. Instead, he handed Oliver the knife, vowing to fight alongside him. As the prisoners celebrated what they believed was a victory, news reports claiming the prison's harsh laws had been repealed, Apache betrayed them. He killed the guards watching the hostages and freed them, signaling the authorities. Smoke bombs filled the prison as the special forces launched their assault. Oliver, realizing the trap, urged Malama to kill the hostages to maintain leverage, but it was too late. A nail gun attack left Oliver gravely wounded. As he lay dying, Apache announced that both leaders were dead, prompting the prisoners to surrender. Malama, devastated but defiant, was shot by Apache before he could retaliate. The special forces swiftly regained control of the prison. Oliver, writhing in pain, succumbed to his injuries. Later, his colleague entered cell 211 to identify his body and found his wedding ring, a symbol of the honest, good man Oliver had been. Society had stripped him of everything, and in the end he chose to die as a prisoner rather than live as a guard. The prison riot ended in tragedy, a stark reminder of the cost of rebellion and the fragility of trust in a world built on suffering.